What will the US look like in 50 years? I actually have a positive outlook. Just because we live in unprecedented times doesn't mean it will always be this way. Someone's got to live through the interesting chapters in our history books. I think we'll end up a more unified country by that time. To me, it seems like people are finally being done with everything being revolved around politics. I can see racism being a thing we can all joke about instead of worrying who is a racist. A very unrealistic but optimistic outlook that I can't truly believe in is that we'll finally have the idea of race gone completely. I believe there will be a civil war, and the US will be split temporarily into several different areas. There will be one area that's a peaceful utopia type of place that at first will struggle financially. Over time, that place will overcome its initial struggle and will blossom into a prosperous place. The others will eventually come around and decide they want that life too. So the leaders of those societies will come to an agreement, and within those 50 years the fractured states will unite once more and be stronger than ever. That's what I believe will happen. If you watch enough history shows, you realize that each generation has had its own dire struggles. Things always look bleak, and there are indeed hardships. Time passes and things do change, sometimes for the better, sometimes not at all. I think the thing we need to remember now is that history cannot and must not repeat itself. All of this nationalist fear being elevated will dissolve once cooler heads prevail. Authoritarian politics seem great when you think you are on the right side, but then fall apart once they start to come after you. Probably more or less the same. People will still complain that the good old days or whenever they were children. The population will continue to age, especially more government and elected officials will probably continue to be older. It will come to the point when you elect someone, you'll essentially be electing their staff. And robots will become more common. Hopefully, cars that run on electricity or hydrogen will be the majority of cars on the road, so they'll look similar to cars we have now. It will still be around, but it's gonna be more divided. No civil war, anything, but let's just say we will be at each other more harshly for not following each of their own beliefs. It's already happening already. This society is becoming a place where if you chose no side because you want to remain peaceful or just respectfully disagree with each side, because it would violate your rights or violate any major religion or major faith you believe in, they would prosecute you for being that way. The East Coast and Gulf Coasts will have huge barrier dunes erected to stave off rising ocean levels. It will be impossible to get home insurance if you live along the coast. The Southwest will be uninhabitable as the Colorado River dries up. The Great Plains will dry up as aquifers are used up. Land will sink as temps rise. The former Rust Belt will become highly desirable again as people flee the severe storms along the Sun Bible Belt and rising sea levels. I've read through all the comments, and of course climate change is a major trend running through most of them. I have a nagging question that no one has been able to adequately answer for me. In 50 years, why are we still building at or slightly above sea level on the ocean Gulf facing coasts? Why are we not taking steps now to be ready for diminished coastlines and greater storm surges? Agriculture is dying. AI replaces all professions, including doctors. Regulatory bodies FDA, EPA, etc. are outright owned and run by corporations. Trash and pollution everywhere. Movies are just lowbrow humor. Politicians get paid every time they mention their sponsor. Costco gets into higher education, X-rated Starbucks. The president wears the flag, cusses and carries machine guns. Everyone wears Crocs. My hope is that after the baby boomers and Trumpists die, we actually make some progress. The government actually gets a handle on these giant corporations. We finally knock it off with all of this proxy war for profit bullshit and establish permanent bases on the moon and Mars. My fear is that we don't do anything like that and it remains basically the same as it is now. That is the nightmare scenario. It will either look like something from A Handmaid's Tale, or it will look like 1960 Germany with fascist rhetoric and symbolism shunned and possibly illegal. In between, there might be an uprising or even a civil war. But I doubt it. By the time that really could come to a head, the high population areas of Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, and Arizona will either be undersea or uninhabitably arid. assuming the wealth gap continues to increase at the dramatic rate that is currently doing. Mass homelessness in every major city. I'm sure corporations will make some sort of compromise to dangle in front of working class people to give the illusion that they will be okay. But I think it will more or less be an economic war driven by the upper class, using autonomy as their weapon of choice. We have trouble running our ordinary lives, but call anyone that's a president, senator, principal, police officer idiots, etc. And yet, still we can't file taxes on time or properly keep up with deadlines and appointments. Figure out how to make $1,000 a day or settle relationship quarrels. Pretty clear who's the idiots to me. I'll be about like we are now. Just more cooler tech. Or we'll be in the Stone Age again, and women won't be able to drive, vote, hold bank accounts, etc. While the country is a forced Christian nation, I'm hoping enough people vote that we get the first timeline. I think in 50 years there will be a one world government, and it will not be Americans that will decide what to do with the US but the emperor of the world. So the situation of America in 2074 will depend on whether the emperor is evil or good. I hope he will be good because I'm probably gonna be alive in 2074. Unless something big changes. I'm betting large portions of the Southwest will be uninhabitable. In the Northeast, we'll still get the occasional winter storm, but we'll never again have a winter where it's below freezing for 5 months straight. Politics will probably get worse. Same for economic inequality. In terms of demographics, quite a bit more diversified than 50 years prior, with more people of Asian descent representing the populace and an aging white people of European descent population. We'll also likely be witnessing a Latin American majority within the latter half of this century. Really hoping it won't devolve into either some version of Idiocracy or Handmaid's Tale or a combination of the two. On a positive note, I really hope we turn a lot of our means inward and make a lot of domestic improvements, such as heavily investing in renewing our infrastructure. It depends upon the upcoming presidential election. A police state is increasingly possible, perhaps even likely. Also, I think there's a very good chance AB 25 that we end up disintegrating, and that there is no more USA, but rather a grouping of different states, some stable, some very unstable. Why am I on this thread? I feel like punching everything anyway. I hope we're going to be here. I hope we're going to be okay. I hope the buffoonery of fascist bastards causes them to collapse without further harm to the rest of us. But I don't know. My sector will be providing mineral and timber resources to a freedom city. Barron Trump will be selling Alaska back to Russia. Everyone else will be working for Apple, Alphabet, Tesla, Nvidia. Meta as security forces to watch the other person. Not great. It's a mess right now. For instance, basically the entire American healthcare system was hacked 2 days ago, likely by China, Russia, and literally no mainstream media source is talking about it. Our priorities are all out of whack. Trump will be our dictator for life. Liberals will be in prison for life. There will be no rights, no birth control, no freedom of press. All votes will be Republican. The environment will be extremely polluted. Bring on the rapture. Dictatorship oligarchy like Russia if the GOP has their way with subverting our democracy and selling out Americans for corporate cash. The American dream is already dead. I can't imagine what nightmare to expect in 50 years. The way we're regressing, and not to a third world country. It's a shame. Capitalism is good for competition, but creates so much greed. And it's greed that's killing this country and the far-right lunatics. Well, it will gain a ton of real estate on June 3, 2072, as America will begin its occupation and annexation of Canada. It'll be a sad day. It'll last maybe 5 years. But by the end, Canada will no longer exist and will be absorbed. I don't have much hope it will be better than now. My wife and I are really not looking forward to the rest of this year, let alone the next 50. But by 2074 I'll either be a very old man or, more likely, I'll be dead. Misha Green's season 2 of Lovecraft Country predicted it already. JPG revision latest. Scaled, the width down 985 c 20 trillion 210 billion 714 million 33,638. In the year 2525, if man is still alive, if woman can survive, they may find, in the year 2074, ain't gonna need to tell the truth. Tell no lie. Everything you think, do and say is in the pill you took today. One see a few options. One being a religious autocracy, a revived democracy, or a puppet state to another powerful nation. Our politicians are beyond crooked. People want change. Shit's going to get wild. A dystopian, post-apocalyptic hellscape. The Union, sundered, lies in ruins. Roving bands of long COVID-addled MAGA voters, armed to the teeth, control large swaths of the former red states, etc., etc. The same as it was the last 50 years, except with internet. The world will change and evolve with technology, while the US will remain stagnant and with the same political problems as it has now. People will work for one of the 4 remaining mega corporations and live in the housing provided by those corporations with only enough money left to eat McDonald's, watch Netflix, and drink different, better. We'll find out we have a fascist uprising we have to deal with, as well as the class war, and then the big bad, climate change. It's gonna be tough. Whatever happens, Texas will be a separate country, joining with several other red states, possibly a few liberal city states. Not sure about the rest, we'll just have to keep watching the show.